Hello, everybody. Thank you once again for joining us on the I'll Try That podcast. It's great to be back. Great to have you back. Thanks for tuning in. Here's to another episode of fun, information, and all-round good times. It's me, it's Matt. I have with me this week the usual suspects. First of all, Richard Drabwell.
Howdy do.
Howdy do indeed. And Joe Druitt.
Hi, how's it going?
I'm sorry, for some reason I sounded more chirpy about Joe being on than Drabbers.
He gets that all the time.
Yeah, it's a common response to me turning up.
I suppose just halfway through I was sounding a little bit down, so I thought I'd just dial it up a bit. But sorry about that. We'll crack on anyway, shall we?
Well, we were meant to record this on Sunday, and you did say you were ill, so I'm assuming you're just coming back out of the illness.
Just now, we're seeing an uptick in my...
Yeah.
sorry to use the business terminology.
We'll circle back to that at the end.
Yeah, exactly. To business, then, we have... we're going throwing back a little bit to a brewery we have featured in the past. If you can cast your mind back to Fierce Brewery from up in Aberdeen, we'll be getting on to their latest offerings and some interesting new developments, which we are tasting, sampling, and examining. But before we get into all that, in a time-honoured tradition, we'll do a hop topic. And for those purposes, I will pass over to Drabs. So, Drabs, what's been in the news just today, I think?
Well, yeah, I sent you the link from the very reputable news source, Lad Bible.
Sky are also reporting this. GB News as well.
Oh, so all the major publications.
It's official. It's out there.
And now you're hearing it on the I'll Try That podcast, so it must be mainstream by now.
Yeah, once we got round to editing it.
And probably in about a week or so's time. Yes, our favourite supermarket, which we have reviewed their beer selections many, many times before, is Lidl. And they are doing something new, something maybe a little bit different, but in one of their Irish stores, they are opening a pub. In the shop,
right?
In the shop, I believe. From what I could gauge from reading the article, was there was a decommissioned pub was next door, and they're somehow going to attach that to their store nearby, and there's going to be a Lidl pub.
So you really can get everything at Lidl now. They are extending that to beer, where you can go get your brolly and your barbecue skewers and your fresh chicken, all at the same place, plus actual draft beers.
I'm really, really looking forward to this development because, one, Lidl has the fantastic middle aisle, of course, with some questionable products, which, as you can go all the way from a self-cleaning cat litter tray up to an inflatable unicorn. Seems to be the variety of it's what you need. But the decision-making process for that, once you've had a few beers in the Lidl pub and then descending onto the middle aisle in Lidl, who knows what you're going to bring back?
So you're thinking this is a master plan from Lidl to get people to buy more of the random stuff in the middle aisle, or just buy more stuff from their shops in general, like they go and have a couple of drinks and then go shopping. Who knows what you'll come out with the end?
Like we've all been there when maybe we've been to the pub and then we're like just after work or something like that. Then you walk around, you've had a few beers, you go shopping, you're raging hungry, and you buy far too much stuff and more beer.
But that's usually a kebab on the way home, not do a full weekly shop, for Lidl.
Well, this is maybe their new marketing strategy as well. People are going to come, have a few pints, do their weekly shop, and spend double it because you're just going to buy a load of junk food.
So do you think they'll match it with the store opening hours, staying out of hours, to match the pub, like turnout? So Lidl is now going to be open at 2:00 in the morning to capture those weary travellers.
I'm just really looking forward to the idea of a Lidl lock-in.
To be fair, by like 2 a.m, they're probably getting up to like make the bread fresh, because they do make fresh bread in house, don't they? A lot of the Lidls. So that's probably what they start doing.
Bakery items.
Yeah.
Yeah,
How good would that be? That's what you want when you were coming out of the pub. Instead of getting a kebab, you want some fresh baked goods.
I have a story about this. Was when we were on our winter season together, and I had maybe partied a bit too hard the night before, and it ended up in a party halfway down the mountain, and it cut to 6 a.m, realizing I was halfway down a mountain, but also timed with the bread delivery from the local bakery. Which was conveniently by the house I was in.
But also because you had to be at the chalet working at 7 o'clock, wasn't it?
At 7 o'clock in the morning. So conveniently, I got a lift back with the bakery man, we'll say 4 sheets to the wind, to then be dropped off back at the chalet, ready.
I remember. I was scrambling the eggs when you arrived.
Yeah, I just wandered in half cut, but it was absolutely fine because the guests got their eggs.
You were on chief bed making duties for the rest of the day.
Yeah.
Well, Rich, he's fine. He's just in this brown paper bag.
Yeah. I think I did have a nap in the downstairs toilet. But
I did wonder why you were down there so long.
Yeah.
What a great
Excellent diversion from the topic. A few things.
It had a vague resemblance to baked goods.
Yeah, that was it, yeah.
We're talking about the pub in Lidl. There's a few bits to mention here. Seating for around 45 and part pub, part off license area, according to court records. Basically, so it's also been challenged in court. So the reason this has come out as news today is a High Court judge has basically he's not upheld a complaint. So it was whether there was a case of refusing application for it because a rival chain of convenience stores said, no, they can't do this. And the High Court have said, no reason why they can't, so crack on, basically. But the plans involve a pub with seating for 45 people and an off-licence area. I really like the idea of, don't worry, lads, I'll go up for a round. What can I get you? And then you get to the bar and you go, can I have 2 pints of lager, 3 IPAs, 1 new belt, a 20-litre bucket, and an extension for a garden hose, please.
I was going seating for 45 isn't that many, so it's not going to be a big place.
I have seen a picture of the Lidl in question.
Oh,
it's not enormous. Actually, most of my Lidls aren't huge, but yeah, 45 seems proportionate. That's seating. You presumably can stand.
So I was thinking about this, and this isn't a new idea to have a place where you can drink in the supermarket, because there's the Waitrose up in Worcester, which is near my folks and Joe's folks. Very, very, very lightly up. That has a wine bar inside of it next to the alcohol section. Because I've been there while my mum went shopping, and I had a nice Chardonnay.
No, Rich, you just started drinking wine in the wine aisle.
Are you basically saying that Waitrose have got the next stage of life equivalent of a creche for children in supermarkets? They basically have a wine bar for like when your adult children come with you shopping and you need to entertain them. So put them in a wine bar in the corner.
It's a genius idea.
I had it on good authority that there are or were Marks and Spencer stores where ladies could, I think, aimed at the shoppers of more advanced years, shall we say. Okay. There was an area where the ladies could leave their husbands for a kip, which I really like the idea.
I think that's just practical.
Can I ask you guys, when do you do your shopping? Do you do a weekly shop? Do you time your weekly shop? And if so, where and when?
I'll let Rich go. It's a household by household. It's actually quite different by households, I think.
We do a big shop every 2 weeks.
Okay, you're a big shop 2 weeks person.
Yeah, so we do a big
shop.
Yeah, and we tend to do it on a Sunday. Big shop on a Sunday in the morning, and then we do a lot of batch cooking. So because we both get back home late from work, and then and then we'll do little top-up shops if we like throughout, but nothing major. Because I work in town, so I literally walk past the Tesco Express.
So you do like regular top-ups almost on a daily basis, basically, to grab those little things.
So, if I need some little bits and bobs, but yeah, a 2 weekly big shop is the usual.
Thank you for kicking us off. I can confirm we do also do, as I say, a weekly big shop. Obviously, my shop's not, shop is clearly not as big as your shop, is it?
How do you find the time?
But I'll tell you, a couple of times recently we have, despite the expense, done a delivered shop, which is something of a revelation. But the Sunday morning, taking advantage of the shop open hours, the browsing half hour before shop opens, because it's also nice and quiet. We can go and get your stuff, and then the till opens after half an hour, and bang, you're in there.
That is some real next level strats that I didn't even know existed. You can get into these shops without it being officially open. What do you mean?
On a Sunday, legally there are Sunday trading hours, aren't there? And so they can only stores of a certain size can only be open for like 6 hours. So a lot of them do 10:30 till 4:30, and some of them will do. It's called browsing time, but you can get in the shop from 10 o'clock, but nothing can go through the till until like 10:30.
I had zero idea of this. This is This is new information. I am this year's old when I found out this is the thing.
Yeah, I think if it's like a small, like an express, they'll have our we've got like a one stop around the corner from us, which is 7-Eleven every day. But there are still a lot of high street retailers and all sorts of different retailers have been saying, why do we still do Sunday retail hours? Oh, well, we know the idea is actually to give retail workers a bit of a flipping break. But a lot of people say that also, why can't we just be open full time? But if you are of a certain size or a certain type of business, you can only be open for 6 hours on a Sunday.
So is it with the browsing hours, like that employee that opens it up isn't technically allowed to be there because he's not allowed to
exactly.
open the door and then, I'm not here. And then they go running off.
Yeah. I think with the idea of not making them do 9-hour days and that sort of thing. But, that's what we do. I do not meant to get through the till. Unless for some reason this is all stopped and we just haven't realised. And we've been doing it the whole time. But.
Or your local is just adhering to, Matt and Charlotte are back again. Better let them in.
They want to go through the till. Tell them that they can't.
But mildly annoy you.
Sorry, Joe, I do want to hear your shopping habits, but also my point about this was to bring it back to the pub in Lidl. I tend to go when I can avoid most people. There are also times where if I was walking through a supermarket and I'd had a pint or two, it would be even easier to get in a fight, basically. There are some shopping experiences push me to the limit. That's a slight exaggeration, but I
think for yours, Bobby, you might like what we do because I've managed to cut out the involvement with people pretty much to like a fine art by this point.
Online and collect.
We've done everything that you guys have talked about. Like we did every 2 weeks did a big shop, spent vast amounts of sums all in one go, but budgeted for that and filled the car boot up and blah, blah, blah. With our lifestyle where we have kids now, it just isn't going to be possible to do that, right? One person goes off. We tried it. Like one of us was away for like most of Sunday, doing the big shop by themselves and then coming back. It's just unfathomable. It's just unreasonable, I should probably say. It's not unfathomable. I can think about it, but it's not possible.
You just fathomed it, actually.
It's very fathomable, actually.
I really hope you're about to announce that you've got a butler to do it for you.
God, I wish. We're not that posh. Right, let's put it that. I'm going to put that out there. We tried the at-home delivery slots, okay, you figure it out. And we still do that from time to time. That's more kind of our like big shop, but top up things, maybe once a month, maybe every 6 weeks. It's probably when we do actually do this. It's more for like the tinned goods things, right? When we're starting to run low on cupboards, we do an online shop and then that comes, I'd say infrequently. It is probably like a 6 week to 2 month kind of vibe, right? When I need a load of tonic water, that's basically what I'm going to get it delivered, for all the gin and tonics that we end up consuming, a pallet of tonics.
Call yourself a beer fan.
Yeah.
Right. What we do now.
Oh, you can tell what we're about to hear is going to be magnificent, isn't it?
I really hope it's foraging.
I'm really into Huel. No, not that. As you can see, I'm now a shadow of my former self because I'm not actually getting the nutrition I need. No. So what we do, we're deep into the subscription food model services, the Hello Freshes, right?
Yeah.
Started off as like just convenience, and also like it becomes quite addictive to try and see if you can do how many versions of the free trials you can make last. We lasted about 2 years before we paid full price for one of these. And I'm very impressed. I'm like very proud of that, as like my standard. Anyway, so that's been like our go-to thing actually. And then we just have like top up, as I said, with like either big deliveries that come in, on tinned goods every like couple of months. And then we do like short top up things like pasta Tesco Express or whatever,
how many tins are you ordering in these? I'm just think you're like planning for the apocalypse or something. We've
got a whole room just for tins.
Yeah, just tins of baked beans and tonic water. It's going to be a very gassy household.
Got another 15 tins of beans. Excellent. Put them with the others.
Do you want to wash that down with some tonic water?
I can you're just like, is it Smaug the dragon from The Hobbit sitting on his pile of gold? But you're just
Tines baked beans.
Clearly suffering with scurvy at the same time.
So there you go. So basically, I think we're concluding this feels very gimmicky / of the moment, like, what's the phrase? Basically like reactive of a good situation by this one specific Lidl in Ireland. I can't see this being adopted by all Lidls around the world where they go and seek out a brewery to buy or a pub to buy whilst doing it.
I would also like to put it out there. I am also very here that if Lidl do want to roll this out across all their Lidls, I'm 100% here for it. And if other supermarkets want to involve it, there is definitely a fantastic pub crawl that could be started.
I'd also, although I was listening to all of that, obviously, did you get into the detail of also part of the Philip Russell Limited, the other convenience stores, why their justification for saying why you couldn't do it is apparently...
Sorry, they're now saying they can't do it. What do you mean?
Sorry, why the High Court said, they can do, but the grounds for saying that they couldn't was the part of the licensing laws in Northern Ireland saying you can't issue a new alcohol sale license unless basically another one has gone. So apparently the Lidl actually, the way they've sort of proved it to the High Court judge is that they have basically said that there are not enough pubs around here, and this place is rubbish for pubs, so that's why we need a little pub.
Not to move us past the little topic, because we've been on it for a good 15 minutes, but I have consumed my first beer, and I want to talk about it before I lose the taste of it while I crack open my second.
I just finished mine.
So, is this the right time to slide on into Fierce beer?
Yes, let's do. And you've started us on that tack very nicely. So continue, please.
So, as Bob set up, obviously we talked with Stu Charlton back in July 26, 2023, for the 153rd episode was a big feature on Fierce, and then we reconnected with Fierce at the London Craft Beer Festival the year later in the summer. So, we're familiar with Fierce. So when Fierce reached out to us to say, hey, we've got some new products. We're doing an Iron Brew. Obviously, in our mind, it went, whoa, you're trying to follow in the footsteps of what we know as the Iron Brew in Scotland, Vault City's Iron Brew, as we had those guys on to talk about it as well after Fierce. So we were like, well, that sounds great. Let's talk about Iron Brew. Let's receive it. Let's talk about it. Let's drink about it. They have also supplemented this Iron Brew package with some absolute worldies. Obviously, they've sent us their IPA, their hazy IPA that we did before as well. It's a banger. You're going to love it. The Cerveza as well. We talked about that at length. Grabs and I, big fan of it. My wife's a massive fan. It's the Mexican style lager. We are now learning that Barbara would like to retract some of his previous statements on that beer. And isn't
That's not exactly what I said.
And he's not as much of a fan of it anymore. But that is okay. Opinions change, taste palates change. We're all there for that in this. We also tried a Cafe Racer, which was their Imperial Stout. Did you remember trying that one? That was pretty hectic, if I'm quite honest. I wasn't a fan of that.
I thought it was a bit heavy, I think. But I think as a group, we're not stouty boys.
Not Imperial Stout fans. We've covered this on the podcast. We'll give it a go, but you're not going to get, if you're into your dark beers and it's not a stout, you're probably talking to the wrong people about that, the nuance of each different one. So why I bring this up is because Fierce have sent us, obviously their Iron Brew, which we'll talk about because all of us are drinking at the moment, / have just finished it in my account. We've also got some hard iced teas, which we're excited to try because that's a bit rogue. Want to try that from a brewery.
Yeah.
There is also the hazy IPA, which we've done already, so we're not going to talk about that in too much length. We've got their IPA. It's a staple. Go get it. It's delicious. And there's also the Cerveza, which we've already covered. So we're going to focus this conversation around the Iron Brew and the hard teas, right? First impressions on the Iron Brew.
I've cracked it. I sniffed it. It smells like Iron Brew, which is a step in the right direction. So I'm gonna give it a swig now. Oh, that just tastes like Iron Brew.
It was wild, right? I was a bit mind blown, if I'm honest.
And that's 4.5%.
And you know what? They got the balance of it being quite sweet, because Iron Brew's pretty sweet, and they got the balance of it being the level of sweetness. Like, it didn't feel overly sweet compared to an Iron Brew, and it didn't feel like it just wasn't. It was like more beery than an Iron Brew, but it was like it was so nostalgic for an Iron Brew itself.
That wasn't what I was expecting. I was expecting a hint of Iron Brew, not for it to taste this much like Iron Brew.
That's wild. I mean, it is a big statement of a Scottish brewery to do an Iron Brew beer, right? Because it is the national drink, literally, of Scotland. If you look at a map of what the most sold soft drinks around the world are, most of them, as you could probably imagine in most countries, are like Coke-based products, they're Pepsi-based products. In Scotland, it is Iron Brew. That is the number one sold soft drink in Scotland, by far. So it's quite the claim for a Scottish brewery to be like, we're making our own Iron Brew, right? Because everyone already knows the Scottish market, know it intimately. So when they have it, and it is luminous orange, as Barbara's showing us as well, like an Iron Brew is as well. So it's just fascinating that they've done this, and it's just like matches that like Iron Brew soft drink nature.
So I'm just watching Barbara's reaction to, I saw him smell it, I saw him tip it, sip it, and then just do a bit of a double take.
I think I can already tell he's not going to like it.
Flipping heck.
Are you an Iron Brew fan anyway, Barbara?
Oh, that's a good question. That's a good question.
I am, and I thought it was just quite a nice opportunity for me to taste it, and I couldn't hear what you said because I went to go and get it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And I was just about to say, I was like, I like Iron Brew. You can't have too much because it is bad. Like, someone will tell me exactly how much sugar goes in. And I was about to say, for me, if they can stick an Iron, based a little bit on, I remember really enjoying the Vault City Iron Brew thing, particularly offset versus what I was kind of expecting to get. I was about to say, if they're going to call something Iron Brew, this was almost like a criticism of the Vault City ones. They're going to call something Iron Brew, it's going to have to make your teeth fall out. which to me, the Vault City ones didn't, taste that strong and sugary. This has got a lot of sugar in it. This is, and I mean, I was going to also give you guys a hard time for being heathens and drinking it from the can. But here it is in glass so we can see the colour. I mean, it really is that quite intense amber. It's not amber, is it? It really is orange.
It's fluorescent orange.
It's orange.
Luminous
like,
orange almost.
As in the Netherlands flag. It is that orange. And, flipping heck. I mean, it doesn't really taste like beer. I don't know if I was expecting maybe a little bit more fizz, but it's sure as shit. Sure as hell tastes like Iron Brew.
It's blown my mind a little bit how much that is. If I was to if you were to put them if you were to maybe have a slightly flatter Iron Brew and that next to it, you'd be like, I think I'd be hard pressed to tell the difference. I think, which is like, I'm not a heavy Iron Brew drinker. Like, don't get me wrong, but I know I like it.
Yeah.
And that from, I can't even remember the last time I had an Iron Brew. But that was
I mean, there's that phrase from, was it Ron Seal, doing what it says on the tin?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's Iron Brew by name and nature, for sure.
Yeah.
Iron Brew plus 4.5% ABV.
So,
like
that's what that is.
Yeah.
Like, the thing is, that's the sort of thing that you could drink all day at a festival, quite happily.
I mean, I don't disagree. I do disagree with you on that. Maybe certain individuals will find that's fine. I personally would be like, okay, 2 of those, I'm sugared out. But then I'd feel that way with soft drinks, full stop. If I have more than 2 soft drinks in any given time, I'm like, it's too sugary for me, basically. Give me 4 or 5 coffees, no problem, but it's the sugar that I react to, you know?
Day 2 of the festival, if you've slightly overdone day 1.
On this.
Yeah.
Yes. You're having such a sugar crash.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah. You can have one of these at 8 in the morning and feel okay.
So what do you think about this, guys? In that they're calling this a Fierce Iron Brew beer cooler.
This was going to be the basis of my question to you guys. But what is it? Because also
a cooler.
It's probably going to also bring me on to the hard iced tea. Shall I start talking about the hard iced tea, or do you want to talk about beer cooler?
Let me just
do beer cooler first.
Let me set up beer coolers, and what they describe as their beer coolers. So they have a beer coolers range specifically brewed to be as light and refreshing as possible before we lay it in the flavour. Now, what's included in that range is a fierce iced tea. We'll talk about those. There's a lemonade version, which I've got, and then there's a rhubarb one and a grapefruit one, raspberry one, which we've got downstairs. And there's also a cola one. So there's a hard cola. Anyway, which we haven't got, so we can't talk about it, but that sounds fascinating. Travers.
So I'm just like, so are we cooling these beers, or are they more of a hard soft drink? Is that the route they're heading down?
I think Barb's about to touch on it about the iced tea and what that actually is, but I think this beer cooler, the Iron Brew, it substantiates it being a beer. How they talk about it, they say it's a Fierce Iron Brew is packed with lots of Scotland's favourite, blah, blah, blah. So it's made with pure Scottish water, pale malted barley, and a hint of hops. Okay, so it contains barley and it's got gluten removed post-fermentation, so it is gluten-free and vegan-friendly. So in the essence, that is what makes up a beer, right? If you would say what the magic ingredients for a beer, this does it, even if it's like a hint of hop. So it's clearly like how they're using the ingredients that gives it this distinction and flavour. The iced tea is a different
iced tea is
beast.
just iced tea, alcoholic iced tea.
Yeah, so that is a different beast. That doesn't have the same. I mean, they're still talking about it as having it as pale malted barley and a hint of hops. So actually, maybe it's got the same process, but it's so contrast from what the Iron Brew tastes like. Again, maybe that's because it's meant to be like an Iron Brew and it's so sugary. The iced tea feels so much lighter. Have you guys experienced that as well?
So yeah, I tried the raspberry one yesterday. So I tried the raspberry one yesterday when I got back from work, and I was like, I've got no beer. I'm meant to be saving this, but I'm going to try it. I'm going to have this because I want something after work. And that didn't feel like a beer to me. That felt, it felt like an alcoholic soft drink. It felt like, more something, like the seltzery, that sort of idea.
You're absolutely right. I think seltzer is the best way of describing this, but I think that's what they're doing. They're creating their version of a seltzer without it being a seltzer. Because this, for me, is like a lemon seltzer, a hard lemon seltzer, which is what they're trying to do, right? So, where I'm kind of coming from as well is because having worked on a brand called Garage for a Finnish brewery, that was part of the Sidderbrook, that was part of the Carlsberg group, right? They had a whole range of beers that was in this hard, like long drink space before seltzers and hard seltzers took off like the way that they did, right? And so they had a lemon version of this long drink. So this hard iced tea feels like it's come from a long drink space that's been rebranded as a hard seltzer space. right? So this feels like like what breweries have been doing for a long time, because I can't say that hard seltzer is the first time breweries have ever dabbled in this, because it hasn't, because long drinks were there way before. So it feels like Fierce are just really in with the times of trying to answer that consumer need of a lighter, refreshing, alcoholic drink. And this, to me, feels like their answer to that.
Yeah, I get that. And I think Fierce beer stuff, a lot of the stuff they put is a lot lighter and a lot more refreshing. So it's the space they're used to. I'm looking back to their Cerveza, their IPA that I just finished earlier. They're not heavy. They're not sitting on you kind of beers. Stout, that's a different story. But, it feels something they can do, and they are doing it well, because I've enjoyed it. But I'm just not too sure I would call it a beer. I'm not gonna. You're not gonna go out and be like, right. You're gonna call it more of a cocktail, I suppose, and more of a salsa.
He's probably also, if you're thinking of me as the foaming pint of nut brown ale fan, you say, "Would you like a beer?" And I go, "Oh, yes, please." And you hand me one of these. I'll probably go, "Wait, what?" This is not what I had in mind, basically. Yeah. It's a different space being occupied by those same guys who can do some cool things with other beers, as we tried with the other ones, isn't it?
And that's it. Like, I'm not complaining in any way, because I think they're really, really tasty and they're really, really delicious. And if it is the same, it has got a hint of hops and it has got the other stuff, I suppose it is a beer.
I think, I don't know. I'm agreeing with you. I think this fits for me in this more seltzer category, like you just were talking about. Is that a beer? No, it's not. It's a seltzer. But then they're using the same ingredients to make a beer, because this is how they're doing it. So flavor profile, I put it in a seltzer category, but how they've made it feels like a beer, because it on paper, it sounds like a beer.
I would be really intrigued to hear the brewer's opinion of it, I suppose. Like, have they got somebody different in to brew this? Have they got some outside influence to come help them along this way? But then you look at some of the other stuff they've pulled out, like the rhubarb stuff we were trying last time. It's not too far from that.
Well, that's the thing. They've been working in this space for a while. They were all, like, when we talked to them before, when we've tried them again, they've always been at the kind of a forefront of, like, as you guys talked about, like that kind of more lighter style of beers, more interesting, different innovations with it. Now, I've just run downstairs to go get their Fierce IPA. You know, this is their, like, core beer, right? This is the flagship beer. Already, I know, because I've had it before, it's amazing. I was going to swear then just how good it is. It's amazing. But I'm going to have it off the back of this iced tea, because obviously, and don't get me wrong, I already know, it's a little experiment I'm doing to myself. I already know, and my hypothesis, let me tell you my hypothesis coming into this, right? Okay, I've had the Iron Brew, then had the iced tea with lemon, and then I'm going to go onto that. What I'm expecting is the Iron Brew to have been that sweetness, sugary Iron Brew that we expect. This iced tea to be the palate cleanser, the hard seltzer style beer. And then I'm expecting the flagship IPA to be that, like, quintessential, juicy, hoppy IPA that you're expecting. And that, for me, the fact that one brewery can have, that's the scale that they are, can do such different styles of beer, and all of them be absolutely banging, is a marvel. Because a lot of breweries, and even when we've talked with other breweries, you know, like Vault City, they are amazing at what they do, and what they do is sour beers, right? So their remit is here. Fierce are clearly like, bam, 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 bam. They're so varied in what they're doing, and yet each one is banging. And I think we talked about this with Stu before, because that Cerveza for Rich and I, and Barbara's at the time, thought it was absolutely amazing.
I'm gonna have to address this point. So what I said before we started, when we all joined together and had a little chat before we started recording, as I said, in a slight New Year's resolution for me, I'm going to be more honest about some beers, because I found myself with diplomacy aforethought, thinking to myself, I will be positive about beers that are not in my normal, or I have been potentially being overly generous about ones I'm not particularly fond of. I actually, in truth be told, I think I was in about the same breath. I said, we did the cerveza before, and I don't think I liked it. If I'm being completely honest, because it was 18 months ago, and I haven't had any since, I can't really remember trying it. So to say that I dislike the cerveza one, I'm going to give it another go. And again, I will be diplomatic, but I will be more honest than I might have been before about it. It just so happens I'm gonna cut them some slack because there's I'm not mention who it was, but I had a beer at the weekend from a brewery that had been mentioned many times on this podcast before, and it was the worst thing I've ever tasted.
Oh no! Can you name drop off chat? Like who's or you happy to share it?
I will.
It's
but
a
you're
real
just
shame
gasp.
that you came. Is it Timothy Taylor?
No, it's not.
It's
Timothy
understandable.
Rich was hoping it would be.
It's a brewery that does a lot of various different beers, and they do these things. And I gave it a try, and I had a sip, and I went,
"Was it a new beer?"
Different. Yeah, I think so, and I think it's not part of the core range. And I tasted it, and I went into the
Oh, Barbara, tell us who it is. Tell us who it is. Come on.
Oh, okay. It was a Daya beer. It was a Daya beer.
Oh,
I know
that must have hurt you personally.
Well, I don't actually have any intimate relationship with Daya, but there's so much of the stuff that I'm like.
You say you don't have a relationship with them personally. You took us to the flagship Daya brewery tap house.
Brewery, yeah.
And that was an amazing experience. All the beers there were fantastic.
That's neither here nor there. Anyway, there was one that we actually got a can of it. I don't even think I think it was only available in cans, not on draft. And I fell into the habit of tasting it, and I went, "Oh, that's interesting." And there's like, in Me, Myself and Irene, when Jim Carrey's character just goes, no, I'm not going to do it anymore. I'm going to go, that's horrible, to be quite honest. And that's what happened, basically.
I think that's fair, Barbs, because that's a very British. You've been fighting your inner Britishness with that. Yeah. Like we've all heard it verbatim, and I think we can all relate to it because basically, if you don't like it, you don't have to have it. And yet, there's a sense of us that goes, "I will persevere with this because it would be rude not to consume this thing that I'm not enjoying because I have purchased it." There's that one element to it, but also because it would be considered impolite for that. But you're absolutely right. If you don't like it, don't have it. It's like a corked bottle of wine. You might have already paid for it, but you don't have to drink it. Well, that's sorry. The wine podcast we're recording after this. And actually, I mean, it's probably a fair thing for me to say. And it's okay. This is a safe space. I can say fierce. I probably wouldn't order these ones that I've been trying now. If I were to come to your tap room, I'd probably, or your bars rather, I'd come and probably try the pale ale. However, actually, I think it is a bit of a masterstroke in that if you go particularly to, I was obviously in the Daya tap room at the weekend. There's a lot of the stuff that a lot of these craft breweries will do is for the hardcore beer fans who are into these quite, should we say, provocative full-on beers. And then actually, I suppose Fierce are doing quite a good thing of being like, hey, if you don't like that, we've got something for you. So it just makes sense, doesn't it?
I think these would go down an absolute storm at the festival scene. We're like, all these, it is the summer festival, they're perfect. The summer festival perfect beers.
This is why hard seltzers exploded. They were the first year, the full trading year that hard seltzers hit the market. Coachella, hard seltzer was drunk more than beer, like in an instant. And that's huge. That's not to be to be dismissed.
I think my big issue with hard seltzer is you can't get it in pint form at festivals. That's all I want. Like, I really like hard seltzer. I think it's absolutely fantastic.
They were trying to palm you off with these slimline cans, and you're like, I'm not
these
about that.
Slimline cans. I'm not about that. If I'm going to a festival, I want, you get the big 2 pints. 2 pinters of hard seltzer. Yeah, I want a big 2-pinter of hard seltzer, and I want to sip on that slowly. What you want, Rich,
is a big funnel and someone just continuously pouring those little slimline cans in, and then you're just
a bong.
Well, unfortunately, all all festivals are a lot more expensive nowadays. So I routinely smuggle gin in my boxes into festivals nowadays. And that's
in your boxes. That's impressive.
Yeah,
that's just a little personal note for me. If Travis ever offers me a gin, I'm going to say no.
Don't come anywhere near my tonic water, Travis.
Yeah. It's just it's fondly nicknamed crotch gin. So
that's like hedge rum. We've told the story about hedge rum, haven't we?
No, what's hedge rum?
Hedge rum is rum that's been in a hedge.
Okay.
Before that, and that was where festival point. I totally agree, and my basis of that was I managed to do that semi snug thing, a smug thing. Having done,
you aren't talking about your crotch as well, are you?
No, that's snug. I'm talking about my smug thing I did before. Was at a festival. I saw the van doing Jubel, and I was able to go, I know all about them. We reviewed them on the podcast. And ever since then, Jubel's flying.
Yeah, they're doing well, aren't they?
It's not the same product, but it's...
I know, we've been trying to pin them down to have a chat with us, haven't we, for a while? And they've in their defence, as they are rightly are very open about, they're a very small team who are doing incredibly well. So that means very busy. But yeah, we'd love to get Jubel on.
Is it a peach and a grapefruit?
They do a peach Jubel.
Yeah, peach.
A demi-pesh.
Demi-pesh.
I'm not sure I'm going to be able to finish the Iron Brew because it's after 9 o'clock, and I might have to just take the dog for a midnight walk if I finish it.
I'm sure he'd love that, to be fair, anyway.
Does taste like Iron Brew, though.
I think we're all good. We don't need to do numbers. They're doing swimmingly fierce. Clearly a load of great stuff. I mean, can I just list off a couple of the beers that they've got in their our beers section?
I don't know. Can you?
I'll start with this one. It's specifically for Barber. It's called the Go Easy, and it's a zesty pale ale. All right. They have done a collab with Amity Brew Co. called Flintlock, which looks pretty cool. They've got their Cerveza 0.5, so clearly doing so well. Ooh. They've made a non-alc version of it. They've got a Scottish lager called Hometown. There's also a very big Flapjack, which is their Brew York collab. I love to see breweries that are doing collabs. We talked about their Fierce Cola with cherry. That sounds interesting. I will have to see it to taste it to believe it. They've got a key lime pie, Rich. You'll like that one.
Oh, I do like a key lime pie.
Given you like the key lime pie from that last brewery that we tried, that American one, right?
Yonder.
That's it. So you like that, so you have to try the Fierce key lime pie. They have one called Wahanao. Sorry if I definitely mispronounced that. And that's a Duration collab. So with the Duration guys. They've got a 1983 lager, which is an AFC Aberdeen Football Club collab. They've also got Slapshot, which is their Aberdeen Lynx, which is their ice hockey Aberdeen team collab. So that's cool. Fun. They've got Orange and Hef, which is a collab with Pilot. We haven't talked about Pilot, so we should definitely get them on. They've got an apple pie. Who wouldn't want to try an apple pie beer? That'd be fun. They've got a Wasp, which is the Aberdeen Football Club, another collab with them. They love that one. The Granada collab with called Adagio. Don't know about Granada. Let's find them out. Neptune collab. Who are they? Let's talk to them. It's called the Deep's Red Sea. A Very Big Moose 2024 Maple Hazelnut Edition. That feels heavy just talking about it, if I'm quite honest.
Maple hazelnut.
Yeah. Oof.
Yeah, that's too much.
And they've got a Chippy Export. Don't know what on earth Chippy is, but it looks like a Pimm's type can. And they've got a Chippy Lager. So they've rolled out some random sub-brand with Fierce beer added on it, and it's got someone's signature on it, Paul something. So I don't know what on earth's going on with Chippy, but that's random, if I'm quite honest. Let's find out.
A Chippy Lager.
Yeah, but it's not chips. It doesn't look like Chip Shop. It looks like a Pimm's can. It's designed after Pimm's styling. So I don't know what on earth that's all about.
What's a Chippy? What trade is that?
Fish and chip shop?
I just think it's Fish and
Chippy.
Chip shop. Chippy?
Is it? No.
Carpenter? If you're a carpenter?
Carpenter.
Don't they call you
Carpenter.
a chippy if you're a carpenter?
Yeah.
That makes sense. Wood-related carpenter, but I've never heard
Yeah,
a carpenter
yeah.
referred to as a chippy.
I'm pretty sure that's it.
I just know it as chippy is the fish and chip shop. I think that's become like culturally and socially acceptable to call fish and chips a chippy.
Me and Google are pretty tight on this one. Chippy is a fish and chip shop or a carpenter.
Oh, or a carpenter. There you go. Well,
Or a
Rich is right
carpenter.
then. There's basis on what Rich is saying about trade, being a carpenter. There you go.
So yeah, maybe it's for chippies only, carpenters only. You have to be doing woodwork when you're drinking it.
The chippy
I
export
don't
is
advise.
wild. Like, that's like, are they projecting like fish and chips, i.e. Britishness, but to an international market? Is that why they're doing it?
Is it going to taste like fish and chips or chips? Because that would be awful.
Why don't we buy some? It's on sale right now for 59% off. So worth giving it a go.
Obviously not selling that well.
Merriam-Webster is saying chippy is sexually promiscuous.
Oh, tell us more.
Oh.
That means does it with lots of people. Do you require further
Matthew, where
clarification?
did babies come from?
Is that what happens if you drink it?
Let's stop
Only one
that
way
train
to
of
find
thought.
out.
I mean,
Yeah.
I hate to be the bearer of bad news or good news. Let's put it this way: we're 47 minutes into the episode, so maybe we're worth wrapping this.
If
one
you're
up.
still with us, fair play. You've shown some stamina.
Well done.
Because that last 10 minutes might just get cut because that was absolute
A real
nonsense.
slog. A real slog.
But anyway, if you have listened all the way through, thank you very much. We've clearly enjoyed the fierce beers, and we'll be back for the next one in, maybe about a couple of months.
Yes. Some period of undescribed time.
Bye.
See you in a bit.
And that's all we have time for this week's episode of the I'll Try That podcast. And so from me, Joe,
Rich.
Barber.
And Simo.
goodbye. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram,
Twitter.
I'll try that podcast.com.
And watch us on YouTube.
Goodbye now.